Okay, yeah, so yeah, I'll get started. Thank you everyone for coming. This is a webinar by SignAgent that's to show you what's new in SignAgent. So we've been working, hard to try and build features into the system that we think that our clients would use and enjoy. And we wanted to highlight some of those things just to show you that if you haven't been using them in SignAgent, you could consider integrating that into your current workflow. And then just as I go through the process, I'm going to try and make it as fluid as possible just by creating a sign type and then trying to do a day in the life. And well, I sort of have it scripted out, but we'll see how it goes. So yeah, I'm gonna get started now. So I'm gonna switch to SignAgent. So I'm already logged in. I'm already in the project that I want to be working on. And the project that I decided to use here is the previous organization and the two previous artwork projects or webinars that we did. So I'm sort of just building on those. So if you've seen the other ones, you'll see I'm sort of naturally extending those as well. So the first new feature that I wanted to show is the ability to create sign types on the fly. So previously, if I wanted to create a sign type, I would come in here and right click, and then I would say, okay, well, here's my, I don't have that sign type in here yet. I have to actually go to here and then right click and then add a new sign type. Okay, so we don't have to do that anymore. You can actually just come in here and I can say, okay, here's a C2 dash, and you can see that it's adding that new button there. So now I can just say C2 and I can call it, if I do the space dash space, then it gives me the ability to actually type the name in as well. So I'm just going to be creating a projecting amenity. Okay, so we want to put a projecting amenity there. And I want to put it into my what's new project. And so I'm just going to hit save now. And then what it's going to do is it's going to create that sign, and then it basically auto assigns a color to it. And then I can just drag it to where I want it to put it in the structure. And now I've got my sign type. And I'm just going to minimize this. I'm going to, create that piece here. So now I have this sign. And I can take and just move this to where I want it to go. And now what I want to show is that we've also added the ability to sort of edit these when there is no message. We can add fields to the program or to the sign type right away. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add a new field. And that brings me to, actually, no, I already have this existing sign type. So I'm just going to go and I'll go back to the location. So you can either add a new field. In this case, I actually already had a message. So I'm just going to go in here and I'm just going to say edit sign type fields. And then that brings me directly to that C2 instead of coming over here again and right clicking to edit. It just brings me right to here. So what I'm going to say is I want to put in the amenity field, and I want to put in the amenity symbol field. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And in the case of projecting amenities, I think that the majority of the time I'm going to be using a particular message. So for these fields, so I can actually add default fields. So in here, I can go ahead and say, well, this is going to be my restroom symbol, and I'm just going to use that one there. Okay. So now when I go back to this sign, you can see here that I have that restroom symbol or that restroom text is available, and then I have the ability to actually pick a message as well. Okay, so that is creating the sign, and that's sort of creating it on the fly. And then from there, you can also see that it's now, when I rotate this, it's doing this a live rotate command. So, it's showing me what my results are going to be. So I can then say, okay, that looks fine there. Okay. So then I would just save that, and now I've got these pieces here. I've got the sign, and I've got my message fields. I can even add a details field if I wanted to, such as, installation notes or any of those types of things. Okay. So then what I'm going to quickly do for this sign, actually I'll come in here and I'll add this shared symbol as well. And the reason I have this restroom in here was, first of all, I thought this was a translation, but it's actually not. But what this restroom text being here allows me to do is if I search in a field, I can still find where this term restroom is. Okay, I'm actually just going to turn off my notifications. So now I have that laid out. So now I can just easily come in here and go to Illustrator, and what I've done here is I just quickly created a spot for where I'm going to put my artwork for that sign. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this information here, and there's this symbol, or these are the visuals, and I'm going to copy this over. And I've already created an artboard, and I've actually labeled it. I'm trying to make this, easy bake, so that you guys aren't seeing, that I'm, I guess, not, taking too much time to do this. And then what I want to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to make this 9. Oh, wait a minute. So 9 high. And again, this is just a design that I've done quickly. Hopefully you guys are going to do a nicer design than this. And I'm basically just repurposing this artwork here, and just for clarification here, if you are doing this type of work, if you're doing, if you want to know more about artwork creation, the past 2 webinars that we did were all about artwork creation, and so you can learn more about that there. Okay, so now I've got this one here quickly, and then I'm just going to say, okay, I'm going to take this, and I'll rotate, I'll just copy it down here, and then I'm going to do a quick vertical. And basically what I'm trying to do here is just show this is side 1, side 2, and then I'll take that and I'm just going to export these. I'm going to use the artboards, and I'm going to save it as SVG, and I'm going to make sure that I'm saving it to my sign types folder, which is great. I'm just going to use all of them. And so now it's going to give me my my C2 artwork there. Okay. So now when I come back here quickly, I can just sort of sneak into my right-clicking on there by going to Edit Sign Type Fields, or right-click there to edit, and then I can just add my template and go to my sign types, and then pick my where did it my C2 template. And now when I click on it, there's the artwork there. And I guess I have to see why that is, but I think actually if I add the side 1, side 2 from there, so what I can always just do is just clean this up or delete the one, and we'll just do it as a side 1 piece, which is not really a big deal. It's kind of not what I was, the main piece of this whole webinar. No, was not really to show that the artwork stuff there. So that's that. Now the next thing I wanted to show was the scaled location plans. Okay, so what you can do now is for each sign type that is, or sorry, with each location plan that is in here, I can right click and edit on the sign type, and you'll see, or sorry, on the location. And you can see that there's a scale now associated with the sign, or the location plan. This is a 1 to 200 scale, and if I can create a new one. If I change this number will reflect there. So if there isn't one that's within the scale here, then you can just create your own value based off of the other ones there, okay? And what that does is that it actually places this background at scale. And with that is I can then go into my sign. So actually I'll go in there and edit that, and then I'll go to I'll scale the markers. And when I do that, we're not going to see much of a change. But what it's going to do is it's going to now give me the ability to go into each of these sign types, and then I can add a custom marker for each of these, and then those markers will show up at scale. Okay, so what I did here is actually, and I want to create a custom marker for this C2 sign as well, so that we're going to be displaying it properly. Okay, so I can come in here and go to my marker file. And then what I did here is I just created a set of markers, and we'll make these available, and then you can always just customize them as you see fit. And the way that the structure works is, again, I just create an artboard for each value that I want to show in the system. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say, this is my sign, and this is mine. And I built a C2 sign type marker for it. So I'm going to just say, this is the center. And then as I look through the sign here, or my marker, you can see that we have a layer called color and a layer called insertion. So anything that's in the color layer and is marked color here, that information actually inherits the color of the color of the sign type here. Okay, and then the insertion point is actually an ellipse, which is just it's a small circle that's no fill, no stroke. And basically what that does is that allows us to create, or to sort of override the default center location. So when you're dropping a sign on the plan, it's going to put it at the insertion point, but if there's no insertion point, it's going to put it at the center of the artwork. So, and because this sign is a double-sided sign, it doesn't need that, but for the sake of this demo, I'm going to show that. So I'm just going to take the just going to rotate this. And then what I would want to do here is take this insertion point and move it to the center. And then I can now take this artwork and I can export this. So I'm going to go File, Export, Export As. Again, we want to do is SVGs with the artboards. And what I've set up here is that these are the, I set it up so that they're separate. And then when I export this, so it's going to take markers, and then it's going to use the artboard name. So it's going to export as marker underscore and then the artboard. So when I hit export and choose the options and say OK, it's now going to overwrite the two that I had previously. So this one and this one are going to be overwritten. And I'm not too concerned about that because, you know, it's the same information and I'm not really after that. But I also don't want to say, well, just print two, because then I'm, you know, wasting a bit of time there. So I'm just going to hit replace. And now I've got my, my custom sign marker. So now what I need to do is I need to add those visuals into the system. So I'm going to go to my manage visuals. So underneath your organization, you'll go to manage visuals. And then from here, I can come in here and I'm going to say batch import. And so I'm going to batch import. And then I can take my visuals, I can either drag and drop them or I can go search for them. And I'm going to close some of these extra windows. And now I'm going to go and take my three markers and I can drag and drop them. And what you can see here is this is a batch importing. And with that, I can go ahead and I can either go in and this works for visuals or just plain visuals, but I can make these match. So if this was an arrow that I wanted to replace with that arrow, I can actually just say, you know, replace this one with, or replace this one with that. Okay, but I don't actually have any of these markers in this project yet. So it's basically saying, okay, we'll create a new visual. And what do we want to call it, right? And so I can either rename it, and then if it has a dark background, I can highlight that. But because it's, you know, it's a black symbol, I don't need that. But if this was a white symbol, because it gets applied to a black background or a darker background, then I can apply that. You know, I can use that, and then I'll actually see my symbol when I'm choosing it. But because these are markers, I just want to say, yeah, these are markers. And then I'll hit import. And now the import, as you can see here, that I've got this status saying that I've imported it, and now the visuals has been completed. So then I can just close those. And now what I want to do is I want to take those and I'm going to go to the sign type for my projecting. And then I can, I'll go to my marker tab, which is a new tab. And in here, we're saying that for the marker, it's auto. And this is when we're using on non-scaled plans. So we're just going to keep this as auto, but for a scaled marker, what I want to do is I want to actually pick a new marker. And so these are the previous standard markers. And what I want to do is actually just go ahead and say, for this one, I want to use my marker C2 that I specifically developed for it. And so you can see that the dimensions here are 12 inches by 9.746. And then when I say save, it's now going to go in and it's going to find the insertion point, and it's actually going to draw my marker on there. And then there's now that's how far my sign type is actually going to project now on the plan. So I can sort of make an adjustment there, and I can now see, where that's going to fit on the plan, and it's actually size as. Okay, so for a smaller sign, it's great, and you'll notice it as well as that the markers actually they zoom with the plan now, and so I can go through and I can update the rest of these as well. And for this case, I'm just going to go ahead and we'll go have a look at this sign here, which is it's a B1 sign, and it's a larger sign. So for those ones, we probably want to, really get a good indicator of the actual marker size. So in this case, I can come in here and just find my marker for B1, and that's actually a 24-inch. So when I hit save, it's going to do that. And I can also, if for this case, I actually drew them right as they are. You can draw your own symbols, and if I wanted to, I could say, well, I actually want this to be 36 inches, and then the width will go 36, and this will scale accordingly as well. Okay, so for this case, I'm just going to leave it, and now I can come back there and go to it, and now when I'm zooming in, I can now see that sign is actually taking up 24 inches. Okay, and then I can say, oh, I really don't like that green color, and this is not really a new feature, but let's make it a nice bright red so that we can that it can be seen. Okay, and then there is that new sign, or there's a sign, and it's actually size as. Okay, so if I'll go ahead and do that to the other signs, and this is a what size is this one here? So that's a 6-inch. So then I can just go ahead and take these ones here and again just apply those other markers. And then you'll see that when I come in here, see those are now showing more realistically the actual dimensions that they're going to take. So I may have looked at this before when it was the other one, and it would have been across here and not fitting across that wall, but it does fit here. Okay. So again, yeah, I may have gone quickly over this layout, but essentially all you need to do is you just create your SVG, you draw it to the size, the actual size that it is that you want it to be, and if the insertion point is not the center, then you need to specify it with just a circle, a small circle. And then what that does is that becomes the insertion point when it's dropping that sign. If you want the colors to be inherited, you need to use the color command on the pieces that you actually want to have the colors applied to. Okay. So that is that. Okay, so now with these signs here, what I wanted to do is actually to talk about the next feature that we've developed in SignAgent, and that's actually this is a bit of an older one. I'm just not sure if everyone's fully aware of this. It's probably one of my favorite features of SignAgent. Is the location plan comparisons. So let's say that I spent a whole ton of time planning this project out, or this floor out, and I was maybe working off of say 50% DD, and then the client comes back or the architect comes back and says, okay, we have new plans and we've reconfigured what this floor plan looks like. So what you would do is you would then, it's actually quite easy. You just come in here and you could batch import your location plans. And when you batch import them, I can come in here and I can just go to my location and I'll say that this is my floor plan that I want. This is my new floor plan. And then what it does, it says, okay, well this is the file. And do you want to replace it with level 1, which is level 1? And then it has the previous scale, and then it has the new current scale. So this would be in the case of if you were working away and you were working at 1 to 200, and then the client comes back and says, oh, this is the scale is way too small or way too big. And they give you a different scale. Well, what you could do is then upload the new plan, and then you could change the scale and pick the scale. And then when you import that, in the case that I'm doing right now, I'm not going to do that because it's just the same plan. But what it would do is it would actually take your plan and it actually will move it down. And it'll make it fit, and then the sign locations will still be all relevant because we've just made a mathematical adjustment in the background for you. And then you just might have to move all the signs on that plan. But you can do all that once by just grabbing and dragging. But what this purpose is I'm going to say is that the client actually went through and the architect went through and they made some changes to it, and I actually already uploaded that, so we don't have to go through that. But so I've uploaded that, and when you upload the plan to replace it, what you're going to get is an option in the bottom corner that has this previous, current, and comparison. So this was the old plan that I was working on for webinars 1, the 2 artwork webinars. And so I've gone through and I've done this, and then I've uploaded the other one. So this is the current changes to the project, right? And I've uploaded it. And if you kind of zoom out and have a look at this, this is the current. This is what it looked previously. It's like, oh, that's kind of hard to tell what's changed. Well, what we've actually done now is we've developed it so that you can look at a comparison. And in that comparison, you can see in red what was old and blue what's new. Okay, so when you come in here and you can look at it and go, oh, yeah, look, it looks like they got rid of that one washroom, and then they changed this one to the men's washroom. And they switched the women's washroom. So before the men had the women had the bigger washroom, but then by removing this one, the men got the bigger one. So then they switched the women's over here and the men's over there. So then we can have a look at this and we can sort of go back and forth and compare the two. So I look at this and say, okay, I can click on this sign, and if I don't know where this is supposed to go, I can just say, this, am I deleting this sign? And then sort of leave a comment. In this case, for this demo, I'm actually just going to delete it. So I'm just going to hit delete. And then I delete that sign, and then I can look at this and say, okay, well, this is the women's restroom now. So rather than having the men's, this is this is men. So then I can just come in here and say, okay, let's just move that one there and then move this one there, right? And then this one here is that projecting sign. So yeah, I'm okay with that. And that's how that overlay works. So it's a pretty neat feature. It really it makes it so you can track changes as you're going through. You don't have to fear those updates from 50% to 70%. You can very easily look at what it is currently, what it is previously, compare the two, and then put it back to the current. Okay. All right. So that is the comparison. So the next thing I'll show is I think I showed custom markers. I can show the measures tool. And so the measures tool, and this would have worked on this location as well. It's just that the information that that I wanted to show you didn't really work the greatest there. So in here I have a project that has my COVID signs, and I've got these arrows, these custom arrow symbols that are on the floor, and I'm drawing them. And the idea here is that I want to make sure that these arrows are actually, the proper distance apart. So I can basically, the last two signs that you select, it actually draws a measurement tool between the two. So, and it says, okay, I'm 2 meters apart, and that's what it currently is in Canada. So then I can go ahead and say, well, let's make this line go this way. And as I rotate it, and I'll say that this is part of the state phase 3, and I'll just say that this is draft, and then this is the floor marker. It's now going to, once it drops that in there, it's going to now give me my distances, and I can say, all right, there's 2 meters. Oh. Here's my 2 meters. And so that basically works for all sign types when you are in, when you have a scaled location plan being used. Okay, and so, yeah, for instance, even these directional signs, if these were overhead signs and we wanted to have, if there's a certain mandate to have a number of directional messages that are being done between the sign types, so that the special distances between, then I can actually test that and make sure that we're actually doing those proper distances between, right? So here's my one sign. And
call from CLWA. Call from CLWA.
And then, yeah, you see that's the distances between the two signs there. So that is the mark or the measures tool. Burning through these things pretty good here, which is great. So we'll have lots of time for questions. And actually, the first thing that I wanted to, or not the first thing, but the last thing that I really wanted to show was a tool that we're currently working on. And this is actually, we're hoping to launch it fairly soon. And it's actually zone boundaries. So it is, this is actually our dev website. So when we're testing things out, we're not testing on the live production server. We're making sure that we're testing out functions and features on a different server. But the zone boundaries are basically for this sign or for this location plan. I can add zones to this. So I can say, this is Studio A zone. This is Studio B zone. This is the Great Hall zone. And this is the Atrium zone. So I'm going to do that now. So if I go into my zones, I just go to my location plan and I right click on it and say new zone. And then it says, okay, what do you want this zone to be called? And I can call this, let's call it A zone for now. And then I can say short code for A. And I can pick different colors. Again, I guess we'll use the red. And I can have different fill colors. And then I need to right click on the plan where I want these boundaries to go. So let's say that we're going to start here. And then here, 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 here. And so this is not being currently used. So this is a test here. So I'm kind of flying blind a little bit. And yeah, you can see that there's a bit of a thing going on there. So essentially, it's just a little bit of extra work that I need to do. And I know that this is something that we were trying to make sure that worked out nice and easily for you. And so that is I'm changing this to Studio B here because the B zone is the one I actually did here. And then I'll save and close this. And now I've got this marked as my Studio B zone. And I can edit this and I can do different pieces of, if I wanted to change the fill colors to it, I can do that as well. And I can even if I don't want to show the boundary opacity, I can do that as well. And I'll just change the color to maybe something that's a little more not so stark, and I'll save and close that. And then in here, when I add a sign into this area now, what it's going to do is it's actually going to take on the attributes of this area. And so I don't have sign types in here yet. So this is just a new sign type. So, but I'll just say it for the sake of this argument here. I want to put a sign there, and I want to put it in my new state project, and I'll just pick my new sign type, and I hit save, and then it puts it into that new floor plan, and it puts it into zone B. So you see new floor plan, zone B, and there's that sign, and then it's in there as well. And what this will allow you to do is to actually take inherited field values. So I can add new fields such as, this is zone B. So if there's a directional sign, or if you're saying that, you know, the "you are here's" on your artwork, you can have a "you are here" message, which would be, you know, zone B level 2, and you can inherit the level from the location plan, and you can inherit the level or the zone from the zone itself, and all the artwork as well. So I'm really excited about this feature, and you will also be able to export from this. So if you only wanted to export signs that are in this area, you can just export that as well. So on the exporting, I'm not sure if this is set up in here, but oh no, yeah, I would just filter out the location that I wanted it to export from, and then it'll only show that. So if I had another zone, I could basically filter it out using this and then run my export. Okay, so let me just have a look at my thing here. So yeah, I mean, that's basically it for now. And I'm just wondering if there are any questions, or if has anybody sent questions in, and I can maybe answer those. Okay, wow, there's lots. Okay, so Nathan has been looking at the questions, and if Nathan, if you can sort of let me know which ones you think I should be answering, or that would be wonderful.
Yeah, so I think I've done my best to answer most of the questions there in the chat. Yeah, I don't think there's really anything outstanding there. If anyone has any other further questions, yeah, you can post them there in the chat.
Okay. All right. I mean, does anybody else have any other? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I guess if there's no other questions, or if let me see here. All right. So Ben. Okay. Yeah. So it looks like, yeah, you're I didn't see Anna's, but it looks like there's a request for a note to go in and make a comment on the plan, so that they can say that there's an issue with something yet. And I think that is definitely on our that's on our roadmap to include that feature. And then Monica just asked, yeah, when will zone boundaries be available? That is so right now we're performing some QA. We're just doing the last little bit of testing on it, just to make sure that well, you saw how that the zone boundary thing kind of pulled it from here. We're going through and doing those, and then just making sure that the things are exporting correctly, and doing that. But I mean, I'm hoping very soon. And then, yeah, Gregor asks the languages. So we are currently, we're actually working on updating our tutorials, which will actually be translatable into several different languages, as well as even the Google Translate does a pretty good job of translating the information here on in SignAgent to whichever language is required. So yeah, you can just download the Google Translate, and as we receive more users in different geographical locations, we'll be embedding that into the system. But for Gregor's benefit, there is the manage messages table. So in manage messages, you can actually set up your you can set up a edit zone. Or sorry, I'm going to go to my the organization, and I'm going to go to my language. And basically what you do is you set up your primary language here. So English, in my case. In your case, Gregor, I believe it would be German. And then you save that, and then you can just go to the manage messages value. So you'll be working in German, and then in here, I can create a secondary language, and the secondary languages can be, and I can just say that, I'll make it Braille, and then that is a text type of language, and I can pick the type of automatic Braille translation, because the Braille is actually, these are one of the options for automatic translations. So then I will pick US grade 2, and then I will just agree that we're not responsible, and then I can go ahead and save that. And then when I hear, I'll actually add a sign type. I'll add a field to the sign type, and so I'm just going to create a room number field, and then I'll save that, and then I'll go back to here, and then languages, Braille, and then I'll say, well, what field do I want to have translated? I'm going to say room number I want translated. And then I'll go to my sign type here, and I'll edit that, and I'll say I want the field that has room number on there. So then I'll actually go to my zone B, and then click on that, and now I'll have this room number, and that's not really a room number, but I'll just give it a 104. And then I'm actually going to edit this sign type just to show you the results of that. So every time you create a new language, and then you say that you want a particular field to be translated, what it does is it takes that and creates a field name translation. So you get a room number Braille. And because that's an automatic translation, it will now show that translation for you. So when I come back here, you can see that it's made that 104 number sign AJD, and that's the Braille translation. I could have had a separate messages in here, another language that is, English and then German. And then I could have said, well, the room number doesn't need to be translated to German, but the department name needs to be translated to German. And then I could just say department name, German would be my new field. So yeah, I hope that helps. Okay. Yeah. So if there's, I guess, any other questions, we have 10 minutes. I'd be happy to take any other questions. Okay. Well, great. And actually, sorry, the last thing I'll say is that because of the scaled location plans, some of your sign types will be thinner so the thickness that's going to be required in order for it to show up, you're going to probably want to bump that up because of the scale. So these sign types, when I drew them in Illustrator, they're not actually 2 inches wide, right? So if I wanted to, I could come back in here and then, you know, bump these sign types up so that they're basically, say, 3 inches, and then, you know, go through and just change the different sizes, just so that it appears a little bolder. So when I export them back in, then all of a sudden these would all just bump up to be a little bit more bold and a little more noticeable. But the great thing about this is that you can see right away, okay, yeah, the impact of this sign versus, you know, that sign. And then over, I think there's another sign here. You know, this sign actually doesn't have that on there yet. And then when you're looking at it like this, it's like, oh, is that going to fit on that wall there? And you know, I've been guilty of this in the past of saying, well, yeah, like not that who cares, but there's, you know, you're dealing with hundreds of signs or thousands of signs. It's hard to do, but now you can just go in here and update your marker, give it the actual marker, and then when you're testing it, you can when you look at it and go back there, when you're placing it, you're actually getting the actual distance that it will, and in this case, it will fit in there. So, okay, well, if that's it, then, you know, thank you so much for attending, and yeah, we look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. And yeah, if you have any questions, again, you can, if you think about things later on, you can reach out to sales@signagent.com if you have any questions about additional licenses or licensing, or you can reach out to support@signagent.com to for any support related questions, and feel free to go to signagent.com or support.signagent.com to get with that and to get more information there. And there is actually a new resources section on our website that has some videos that show a facility manager's point of view of using SignAgent, as well as a designer's view of using SignAgent. And those can be tools that you can use to sell SignAgent to your facility manager clients, as well as you know, just showing possibly other designers as well, telling them more about SignAgent. So yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, and I look forward to our next webinar. All right, take care, everybody. Oh, and thank you, Anna, for your kind words there.